All right, what's up, my brothers? In my coaching practice, I deal with a few entrepreneurs on a regular basis, month-to-month sort of thing. And one of the things that keeps coming up this year that I've noticed seems to be a real problem in businesses is this thing called DEI, which stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm going to tell you what's happening in just a second, but let me just go to the Wikipedia definition to sort of explain it as they see it. It says they're organizational frameworks which seek to promote the fair treatment and full participation of all people, particularly groups who have historically been underrepresented or subject to discrimination on the basis of identity or disability. These three notions, diversity, equity, and inclusion, together represent three closely linked values which organizations seek to institutionalize through DEI frameworks. Make sense? Let's hit the road and have a conversation about how this is becoming a real problem in some businesses. Now, when I used to run my debt negotiation business, I ran it for a good 15 years. Prior to that, I was very involved in the hiring process, evaluating resumes, applicants, conducting group interviews, all this sort of stuff. And none of this stuff existed. Even in areas where the framework is highly demanded by government or certain issuers of roles or tasks or contracts if you bid on them. We never saw anything like what's going on today with what a lot of entrepreneurs are having to put up with. And I don't know if this is happening everywhere in the world, but it seems like most Western countries, modern Western countries, first world countries, seem to be trying to integrate DEI policies into their hiring programs. Most of them still do it voluntarily, right? Like you'll see a lot of the bigger companies do it voluntarily. And from what I've heard from the employee side of things is a lot of the guys that have tenure, they've been there for 15, 20 years, they're proven engineers, they're assets to the organization, they constantly solve problems, are now being overlooked for promotion and advancement and career opportunities within that organization because they're looking to hire somebody of a certain race, gender, identity, whatever it may happen to be, which is fine. It's just that back when I was doing the hiring within my organization, it's one of the reasons why today I don't really like having employees that work for me. I deal mostly with contractors if I deal with any kind of human resources issues, is that they end up hiring people based on an identity, not based on their skill set, not based on their resume, not based on their capabilities, but on an identity, a skin color that they're born with, not something that you can choose. A skill can be developed through education, through training, through making mistakes and fixing problems, through investment of your time and energy and resources, and a trade or a craft or a skill. But what we're seeing now, and where a lot of these entrepreneurs are going wrong, is where they start bidding on government contracts and government bids, where it's like they heavily rely on government funds and resources to run their business. And the problem with that is that when you start to heavily rely your entire business, or you build the entire framework of your company on what the government says is a task that needs to be done, they're pretty consistent, they're pretty well paid, but now they're starting to require that you prove that you're meeting their DEI requirements before you can bid on that task. The problem with that is it forces you to hire people to meet the requirements so you can bid on the task. But again, you're hiring them based on an identity. You're not hiring them based on the resume. I said this in my book, The Unplugged Alpha. There's a chapter that talks about it in one area specific. I said, you will get hired for your skills, but you will get fired for fit. I think that's the way that things should be. It's always been that way. You got hired for your task based on what you told them that you could do, based on the accomplishments that you might show to them, but you'll get let go if you don't fit into the organization, meaning you're not a culture fit, you're not a performance fit, you're not a accomplished fit. I don't think people have ever, in my estimation anyway, when I ran businesses, ever been fired because of identity, because of sexual preference, because of a skin color, because of height, because of whatever it may have happened to be. We always let go of people because of fit, because they basically sucked at their job, or they constantly clashed with the other employees. It was not a good cultural fit within the business. I think culture within a company is really important if you're going to have employees, and you should most definitely make sure that people that you hire and advance through your organization are a good cultural fit. They subscribe to your core beliefs. They hold them true and strong, and they know what they're all about. They're all singing the same song. Makes sense. But what ends up happening is these guys are now hiring people based on identity. So they have to have a certain number of gender, a certain number of people with certain colored skin, a certain number of people that might identify in different areas, and they're not getting the best. They're getting identity. They're getting people that they're finding now aren't able to perform the tasks, aren't truthful in the application process on their resume, aren't consistent in showing up for work. What I've heard from a few guys, in fact, now is some of these identity hires will come in, work long enough so that they can collect employment benefits, unemployment benefits more specifically, and find some reason to either leave the organization or be terminated. Stress, hours are too hard, my boss hurt my feelings, whatever it may happen to be. And that leaves the employer, the entrepreneur, in a pretty difficult spot, because not only have they hired somebody to do a task that they could normally otherwise hire somebody that might be able to perform the task better, but they've hired somebody just to basically get a government contract or a bid. And that, I think, is an incredibly horrible way to run your business as an entrepreneur, because your entire job as a business owner is you have a fiduciary duty to your business to make sure that you are returning strong shareholder value to yourself, if you're the guy that runs a business, and anybody else that might be a partner in the business. That's your job. It's not to, placate identity needs of the world today. And I think that this is going to go in a very, very bad direction in the years to come. I think that companies are going to fail, not entirely because of it, but it will certainly be a strong catalyst towards their failure. And as soon as when a society, when a country, when a culture embraces mediocrity, because these are the complaints that I'm hearing from these business owners, from these entrepreneurs, is they're forced to hire what end up generally being, for the vast majority of them, mediocre hires that don't perform, they don't show up to work, they show up late, they often subscribe to what's called the victim mindset. They don't subscribe to being a individual that can solve problems as a contributor to the organization. They subscribe to the own person. And it's like, if something doesn't go that way, there's some phobia or some xenophobe or some, you're racist or something like that, right? Something like that comes up, which is so bizarre to me today, because it's like, back in the day when I was hiring people, I didn't care. I don't care where you came from, how old you are, what the color of your skin was, whether you're male or female or whatever you wanted to identify, what your sexual preference, it didn't matter. Do you have the ability to perform the tasks that I'm hiring you for? And if that's the case, are you able to prove it? And if you're not able to prove it, then you're going to be gone very, very quickly. And these guys are running into all kinds of problems. And some of them, they're running into financial problems now because of these bids that they're trying to make through either large organizations or government contracts, where they have to prove they have met their inclusivity, their DEI requirements, in order to gain an opportunity to place a bid on that contract. My friends, what have you experienced in this realm? Again, like I said earlier, I've even seen guys that as employees, tenured, that are the most skilled and the best suited for advancement or for promotion, been overlooked because of these requirements. And it's leaving a lot of some of the best performing people out there wondering why I am doing the work, because they're actively being penalized for being exceptional because they got the wrong skin color, they identify with the wrong whatever it happens to be trending out there today. I think that we need to get back to a place where we hire, retain, and promote based on performance. Simple as that, but this is where we're at, and I think it's going to be problematic. I want to hear your experiences, guys. Leave a comment below and let me know what you've seen in your space. I'm really interested in actually hearing from you on this one. This is a very relatively new phenomenon. Check out the pinned comments below for my community, my book, and a whole bunch of other stuff. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.